Cool. All right. Rome, we appreciate you coming through. My name's Alex. On the mic, I usually go by Kid Kezo. I'm also joined by my host, Laquan, here. And to give you a little background on us, we are two Indiana born and raised kids who are hosting a podcast that we want to be a positive space for people that love music, anime, video games, and a sprinkle of pop culture here and there. So uh, we really appreciate you coming out, especially as someone who is a prominent black creative nowadays and is doing great work. And you fit everything for the Blerds is about. And we're excited to get to know you a little bit and speak about the work you've done on Raising Dion season two.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Super dope. Look forward to talking to y'all, man.
Absolutely. So I just wanted to start off just kind of general, uh, just a little bit about your background. Like I said before, we're from Indiana, Midwest through and through, all about the bonfires, sports, and uh, long winters, sledding, and all that good stuff. So just want to get to know you a little bit and have our audience get a chance to know you outside of social media or a couple roles that they might have seen you in.
Yeah. Um, well, I'm from Chicago. I was born in Chicago, Illinois, and I went to school there. And then in high school, I moved to Springfield, Illinois, which
Okay.
is like kind of close, and basically spent a lot of time there. Finished high school there. Did real normal kind of stuff. I didn't study acting in school. Didn't really even know what that was, to be honest.
Mm,
I just played basketball. That was it. And it was till after I graduated high school that I discovered acting, discovered arts, and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, after a couple of years being out of high school, I was still trying to get into college, and I finally did get a scholarship to play basketball in college. But it came at the same time where I had to decide whether or not I was going to pursue acting.
mm,
Um, and so I made a decision. I'm here in LA, obviously.
yeah.
So, at the time it was a hard decision to make because that's the only thing I had ever wanted. But I just knew that the shelf life of an actor and an athlete were very different. And, made a decision to move out to LA. I think like a year after that. Um, I'm really just jumping, doing time jumps. There's a lot that's happened in between those times, but um, I really feel like my decision to move to LA or decision to pursue acting or even to make a decision at all, I think was the fork in the road. And I think all of us in our lives, we have those kind of moments where we have to make a decision, like
Hmm.
have to choose, um, and it was like either making this left or making this right would have really changed my life in a very drastic way. And so I decided not to go to college. I had went through the whole process of, getting my letter of intent, talk to the coach, and we were super cool. And all of a sudden, it was kind of like just I had to get out of it. And first thing I did was, I had to call my coach because we had became real cool. He gave me a chance, to play in college, and nobody else did. In high school I was good. In college, I mean, high school I was a good player, but I hurt myself, so I didn't have any scholarships coming out of high school.
Hmm.
And so that was devastating. I was like, damn, I had no plan B. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he gave me a chance, so I knew I owed him that to talk to him about it. And so initially, I told him, I'm like, man, I don't, I don't really know how to tell you this, but I can't play. He was like, why? My first reaction was to lie, so I just told him, um, I got nowhere to live. I said, listen, I got nowhere to
Mm,
live. I got to move to Wisconsin, which is where my family was at the time. He's like, don't worry about it. We'll move you with a couple of guys on the team. I'm like, shit. Next thing I thought of, like, man, because it never occurred to me that, becoming an actor was a real possibility. And I didn't even believe in myself at that point. So I didn't even want to tell anybody or tell him.
right.
So the next thing after that, I was like, what can I say to make sure he like don't have a rebuttal? And I'm like, man, my mom, she ain't doing too good. I feel bad about that. He was like, man, he's like, damn. He's like, well, if anything changes, man, you let me know. And the next thing I had to do is I had to write a letter to the president of school.
Hmm.
I had already gotten funding from the scholarship. And so basically, I had to retract all of that. And I had already been putting classes, and so I had to write him a long. I wrote him a long email, and I basically just told him like, man, I really feel like I'm destined to be great. I want to move to LA and be an actor, and I just really just laid it all out there. And he said, I don't know you, but I believe you. Like I don't know why,
Mm.
but normally this is money coming taken out of the school. You know what I mean? And so he allowed me to back out of my scholarship without having to pay the thousands of dollars that that were sent to the school. And this at that point, I was just like, all right, well, I made my decision. And at that point, it was just building to get to where I am now, which is at least to move out here. I had no expectations other than that at the time.
Wow. No, that is a fantastic story. We both can absolutely relate to being high school athletes, minding your business, having to choose where you want to go, especially as someone who's a creative. I grew up drawing, doing graphic arts, all that kind of thing. And football was important to me, but just like you, my senior year, no scholarships, had an injury, had to decide like, is it time to, put the lace the cleats back up or focus on the arts? And man, it's incredible to hear that you took a risk like that and ended
Mm-hmm.
up paying off. I guess my follow up question would be, seeing as sports was such a big part of your life, during the crossroads, what parts of sports maybe helped you see yourself more in the way of an actor, or the influences around you? What kind of pushed you right or left in the
Yeah.
crossroads?
Uh, just like I said at the time, basketball is really all I knew. And so
Mm,
until I discovered acting and discovered music and, I finished in high school, that was, when you're in high school, that's what you think life is, You like, you got your friends, you like, man, I'm gonna know these people forever. I'm hooping, this is what it's gonna be for me. And I want to continue this into the next chapter of my life. And so there was no other option to be like, all right, well, I want to do something different.
mm,
But when I stumbled upon acting, I had the opportunity for it to be introduced to me. Um, it was just something I was naturally gifted at, and I just knew that I could play basketball anywhere. What I mean?
mm.
And funny enough, to kind of segue from that, I recently, so my brother plays basketball currently.
Okay.
He's in Asia right now. He's a pro basketball player. He's much taller than me. He like 6'5", 6'6".
Yeah.
Um, he he went to a school here in California, and he had no school to go to, and the school kind of gave him a chance to play, and he ended up playing really well for that season, and for that point, he got to go to the G League and do a bunch of other stuff. And that same school had seen me play because I still hoop. I still hoop competitively. I played with the best. Kyrie, Melo, all these guys. I played with them, and the coach seen me play, and he said, "Man, you ever think about going back to college and playing?" I was just like, "Nah, it never occurred to me." He's like, "Man, we really love to have you come play with us." I'm like, "What? That's crazy." And so, I'm in the middle of production. I'm filming a bunch of shit, and there was a point where he just kept hitting me like, "Yo, were your transcripts?" Like he really wanted me to play, and I was thinking to myself, like, "I'm really about to do this." And so I'm currently on the roster right now. We just had a game like last week.
That's crazy.
And so I have been playing
Oh
this
man.
game. It's a Division One in a IA team,
Hmm.
and you know it's an experience that I never thought that I would have the opportunity to have. I just thought it was over. Like no way. And so I've been playing with this team, and it's in itself, it's just a whole experience that's separate from any other part of my life. Like these guys I'm playing with. Some of them knew what I did for a living. Some of them didn't. But I'm
Yeah.
coming at the end of the season. I got we had like 10 games left by the time I got there, and it was just super crazy to implement myself into what that would have been for me if I had done it years ago. I'm
Yeah.
traveling with the team. We getting something to eat after after the game. I'm going to practice when I'm not filming. I'm doing everything that these guys are doing, and so it's just really amazing to see it come full circle like that. to be able to play in front of fans and be able to play in front of, you know, people and play on a real team, a real college team. You know, literally Google my name and stats will come up from basketball, and that's something I never had. You know, I mean,
Oh,
obviously,
that's
it
dope.
will come up. It'll be hard to find it, um, but yeah, you know, I'm just enjoying that ride and like, man, you know, I didn't even think about documenting it or just shouting it to the world or anything, but I do think it's an anomaly. It's very cohesive to what how my life goes, you know. So, but yeah, I just thought that was interesting. Like, this really came full back, you know, full circle, and I'm like actually hooping still.
That is amazing. It's always good to know that your passions don't always have to be lost. Even
Hmm.
if you see, where you're ending up in life, you should always keep some form of what you love. Even for me, I've debated eventually getting into coaching someday. So it's cool that you kept basketball alive, if not just mentally, and it's
Yeah.
uh it's proving fruitful. That's amazing. So yeah, I kind of want to transition into raising Dion a little bit. We both did our homework and checked out all of season 2 and did some season 1 refreshing and debating on our favorite scenes and all that kind of stuff. So I think I'll open up with what are some of your favorite moments from either season, or
Yeah.
just being part of the experience.
Yeah. So, I mean, Raising Dion is just such a special show. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I mean, Netflix doesn't have any other show like it. There's not really shows out there like it in particular, you know, where you have, you know, this young black boy as the centerpiece of the show. And also his mom being there, who's a single black mom. And the one thing before I get into my favorite scenes, the one thing that really drew me to the show was obviously the supernatural aspect of it is something that as an actor you want to be able to do. Like, you want to have
Oh
power
yeah.
to do these things, right? But everything is grounded in real fundamental values and real fundamental relationships, and I think that's important because the show could be very. It could have come off very cheesy. It could have come off like if the storylines were built around just the supernatural aspect, I don't think it would have the impact that it's had. But what we're watching is that this kid who has powers, but also his mom still needing to work, still trying to maintain a healthy love life. You know, him still trying to integrate himself with his friends. Them still going to school, and you know, just that aspect of it makes it universal. And I think that's why kids and even adults they like it, they draw to it because if although it's powers and stuff, it doesn't feel out of the realm of possibility where you watch it and go, man, that happened to me before. You know, kids are watching it and seeing themselves in it, which is amazing. Um, but my favorite scene is between Tevin and Dion at the lake
Hmm.
when he's skipping rocks. And Josiah, that's my little guy, man. You know, we kicked it a lot off screen. I had
Awesome.
never had opportunity to work with a kid before, a child, you know, actor for this longer period of time. I've worked with him before, but not to this extent. And so I was interested to see how he would be, you know, and you know, this business can kind of conform you to be almost like robotic and kind of lose your
Mm.
adolescence if you're somebody like him. And leading your show on your own show on Netflix, you're on the cover, man. You know, it's like sometimes that corrupt or at least allow kids to lose that childlike, you know, lens that they have. And it was interesting with Josiah, man. He really didn't like he was a kid offset and on set, you know. So we would yell cut. I mean, this boy would be throwing rocks. He'd be jumping and picking up sticks and doing everything. And he kept the set really fresh, you know, and young, and he made working fun. And so, but there were some challenges, you know, working with him because he still is a kid. He's still like he wants to go do other stuff. He wants to have fun, and you know, all the adults are like, "We need you to do this," you know. So I had to come up with a way to get him to focus. We would have to focus for long periods of time. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, our bodies don't know we're acting. You know, our minds don't. You know, we are actors, but we're still human. So his tendencies were
Mm.
still to be distracted, to be thinking about other things. And you know what we would do before I would notice him kind of being distracted, and I would just tell him like, man, you know, it's time to lock in. I would use a little, metaphor. I'd be like, it's time to lock in. He'd be like, let's lock in. And like, that's what we would always
Mm.
do. I would get him to focus instead of telling him like focus, or like, what you would do typically to somebody else. Um, and we just, we had a great bond. I think that showed in that scene, even, when we were talking, because that's the first time he had even talked to Dion about his dad, even remotely.
Right.
Um, and they don't really mention him that much in the season, his dad, when he was such a focal point of last season. And I just love Tev's approach, man. I love that he didn't really take an authoritative approach. Like, he didn't try to be his dad. He was just trying to be somebody for him, someone that could give him a perspective because he's older, because he had been through things, as you would do with anybody that you care about. So I just love the dynamic. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like, this is the making of like a father son thing. It was just like
Mm-hmm.
we enjoyed them together, and they're a duo together that you kind of like seeing them together. Even when they race each other, and they're playing, and there's lessons being taught in between all that stuff. Um, but I will say, when the moment when Tevin turns a little bit because Braden is in his head,
Yep.
and I really wanted to push the envelope on that. I remember talking to the writers about it, like, man, y'all gotta y'all gotta give me an evil Tevin. Y'all got to, like, I'm like, because yeah, he's in his head, and he puts the shield up because he knows that he can't control his powers, and so he's throwing these orbs at him, but the shield is there. And so Dion is running, and I was like, we need to do a scene where an episode where I'm trying to look for him, but as like evil Tevin. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would have been super dope, because we know how
Yeah.
Tevin is. This guy is just such Mr. Perfect guy. He never makes the wrong decision. And to see him, I would have just felt like that would have been such a cool, aspect. But they just said, yeah, we like it, but we ain't got time for that. So we did that shooting that. So, but I really like that scene.
No, my
Yeah, I
heart
was
would
I
have
was
broke.
kind of anticipating that like chase scene.
Yeah, I wanted that a little bit more, just a little bit more, not too much. He was never gonna get to Dion, but maybe a little showdown between Dion and Tevin would have been dope, man.
Yeah.
Dion's strong, man. He would have held his own.
No,
Yeah,
that's great you mentioned that. On my notes, I had who you got, Tevin versus Dion 1v1. That was in my notes too, so that's funny you're thinking about that.
1v1.
yeah. It's good to hear about your relationship with Dion. How did how was it kind of curating that? I seen that you have a daughter as well, so being a
Yeah.
father, in this kind of mentor role, did that influence your character building at all?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, just inadvertently, subconsciously. But yeah, I mean, I wanted to just approach Josiah as an individual, as himself, and
Mm-hmm.
respect him as an actor. But also, yeah, he's a kid, but like, I got respect for him because he puts a lot of work in, and he brings it when he needs to. And I think some people in my position would have approached it a bit differently. Maybe would have tried to, like, maybe hold his hand through, or kind of inadvertently, like, we do this thing where for adults and there's kids, we try to like guide them, and when they don't really need guiding. And so I just allowed him to, even on the show and in real life, I'd be there for him, um, but also just be, a good male figure for him too,
Hmm.
outside of the show. And so we still talk, we still text. I was on a live with them the other day. They've been asking me to get on there. Like, you want to get on here with a couple of the kids, man? I'm like, yeah. Because I go in the comment section. I'm like, what's up, y'all? And they're like, Tavin's here. Let's get them on. And I'm like, all right, cool. I'll hop on there, and say what's up. They're doing their own thing. The kids themselves about marketing the show, which I think is super dope. Because that's the audience right there. That's the fan base.
Hmm. Yeah, I think something the show really does well is balance mature or adult concepts, but bring them in a way that literally anybody could turn this on and grasp something large from it. And
Mm.
I remember season two, one of my favorite moments was, Nicole was trying to explain to Dion why exactly the principal ain't messing with him and some
Mm.
preconceived notions he might have about him. And, as an
Yeah.
adult, it clicks one thing, but then somebody more close to the age of these characters, the kids might get a better concept of these things too. And I think that is like what you were saying earlier. The show does things that others don't. is find that balance of not being cheesy and still getting a message across, and but also being fun too.
Yeah.
And that brings me to another question: how much crossover do you think you have with Tevin just as a character, uh, just in your life?
Um, yeah, I think a lot of the roles I play, I feel a bit of a connection, or myself and those characters. I think the thing with Tevin is that we really only got to discover a little bit about who he is and kind of how he got there.
Right,
Just in
right.
those conversations, we just didn't have the time to go into Tevin backstory. I don't even know how he got powered. I'm
Yeah.
still we don't haven't discovered that. I mean, I don't know if he. I mean, obviously he had to have been there. When this thing had happened. Um, but we just mentioned like him having past life with a wife and just somebody he used to be someone different, and I can always relate to that. We always learn from our mistakes and try to grow and shit like that, and that's what I take from him. But I also think that the thing about Tevin is that I don't think I think sometimes it's easy to look at him and go, he feels like he always makes the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that it's more calculated. I think it's more of a trial and error thing. I think it's like,
Mm.
he has done similar things in his past to let him here, and now he's making the right decisions in situations that maybe he kind of been in already. And I kind of relate to that. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of he's a great character to play. I mean, for as an actor, you want to play someone that's complex, but this is a character I'm okay with playing because I think I could have played him a couple of different ways. I think I could have just made him real cookie cutter. I try to make him a real person, and you know, although we didn't see a lot of flaws when you did, I think people kind of recognize that, like, oh, so he has anxiety. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
he's dealing with other things outside of just being this trainer dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I like Tevin as soon as I seen him like the first introduction with the frappe machine.
Hmm.
And it was like, oh, I got you. And there's like this little
Yeah,
tension with, oh, your power. And it's like, all right, well, yeah, you don't get to use my powers either.
right. I
Hmm.
like that. I like that character development in that first scene was.
Hmm.
I mean, interesting enough, with me and Alicia, we hadn't met until we got there. We zoomed. So our first time meeting was really in that scene. We had talked before, but our first time really talking was really in that scene when we meet, and it's just kind of ironic that that's the first scene that we had together. Sometimes we shoot out of order, but that was our very first scene that
Okay.
we had.
Yeah, I think it helped a lot. I think it like really had that built-in
Hmm.
tension and hey, who is this random person I'm meeting? And yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. I think my favorite quote from Tevin, it was either on the lake or earlier with Dion, and he had mentioned that it takes a village, and
Mhm. Yeah.
that really caught me because, like, most of us are familiar with that phrase or that idea, but I think the mentorship from the women in the show, and then later on with Tevin, I think that was such a huge part of what this show is, and I guess my question is, how much did that phrase mean to you? Just as everything culminates and you've come to this point in your career,
Yeah.
how much did the village matter to you? Do you feel like you're building a good village for those you have to take care of, that sort of thing?
Yeah. Yeah. I think universally, I just know for people that are like me, grew up like how I did. Um, the village was, my mom. The village was my brothers and sisters. Um, not really a really great structured home. And I think that
Mhm.
there's some sort of connective tissue with creators and this void that I feel like they have growing up that drives them to be creative and to want more. Because I think if you have it already, I don't know if you push far enough to get where I am if you already have it. And so I think, growing up, the village with people around me to just encourage the stuff I wanted to do, but a lot of it was just self motivated. And you really kind of have to be there when you don't have like one of your parents,
Mhm.
or if you just have one that works a lot, and the other one you don't see as much, or if you have a big family and you're not one that is special at anything, you got to figure it out. And I just think in nature, Black people in general just had to figure it out. And so, and that just shows you like a lot of our prominent athletes, prominent creators that people love in our culture are people of color, Black,
Hmm.
that really are culture shifters, that come from backgrounds that are all very similar. You know what I mean? Like even, LeBron James, who was one of the, like my favorite basketball players, and him not having his dad around and him, you know, feeling driven to be somebody because of his circumstance. And I think that's what makes or breaks people, because we all want stuff. We all want to go after things, but there's always going to be forks in the road and things that aren't going to come out how we think. But like I said, it's this ability to just figure it out that we've just always done, even if it's the smallest thing. Like figuring out, damn, I need to be here, but I got to be here at the same time. Like these things you have to keep figuring out. You'd be surprised. It's not a common trait that people have.
Hmm.
A lot of people struggle with figuring it out because they've always had it figured out for them. And so this idea of having a village is just everybody with a common goal, for you to be happy in whatever that is. If that's being successful in this or that, but to at least know what that is, so the people around you can help you get there. And I think with Dion, they really did surround him with very, very healthy relationships. His aunt, his mom, obviously Tevin, even his friends, they had their own circle of what they call circle of justice.
Yeah.
And so that they had that, and he has, like, we see these issues Dion goes through, but he doesn't have any fundamental issues. He's having supernatural issues, which I think is great. We're not seeing like him being neglected by his mom or like
Hmm.
showing him in this trauma state. We're showing him taking these obstacles on and really thriving, doing well, which is great to see. I feel like a lot of shows in this position, you see actor or not actors, but like stories being told through a position of trauma, and it relates this kind of, you know, ideology that we only get to be great in these kind of storylines where it's like the
Hmm.
characters, if they're a person of color or Black, they're going through shit, because of them being who they are. And this show isn't about that, and I think that's super dope.
Yeah, that's man, perfect answer. I've been curious about this literally since
For
I saw that moment in the show. I was like, man, this has to mean something to him too. So
sure.
that was really great. And I think for our little bit of time we have left here, I just kind of want to do a rapid fire kind of mini
Yeah.
version of our podcast. So over the course of like an hour and a half, we'll talk about music, anime / TV, and then
Mhm.
video games towards the end. So
Yeah.
I just kind of wanted to introduce you to our show for this last bit of time and just ask you what you've been listening to lately and
Okay.
what you jam out to, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I listen to a lot of different music. Obviously R&B. I do. I make R&B. I do music, so that's
Yeah.
something I definitely listen to, like Summer Walker, Chris Brown. Um, I like the '90s stuff too, though. I'll just put like a '90s playlist on too. For whatever reason, I'm drawn to really covering '90s music. I don't know why, but I just feel like the essence of that music is like not around anymore. We have so much technology now. Like you remember watching films back in the '90s and 2000s, early 2000s. Like you can't even make those kind of films anymore. Like we
Hmm.
don't even have we had less back then, which made the films what they were, and now we have more. And so now it's like way too many graphics, way too many. You know,
Yeah.
when I go watch a movie like uh like a Scarface or something. Like they couldn't make that movie now. Like how many explosions and like things that would take away from the actual
Uh huh.
storyline. That
Hmm.
movie's perfect, and so I like that kind of nostalgic aspect of art. So I like that. But I listen to a lot of rap too. I listen to Lil Durk, Lil Baby. I'm
Yeah.
actually a big YoungBoy fan too. People don't know that about me. I know a
Okay.
lot of NBA YoungBoy. Yeah,
That's dope. That's dope.
a lot of people don't know that. It's like, wait, you listen to Young Boy? I'm like, yeah. Who changed
Nah,
that
that's hella
song? That was
dope.
them too. Yeah.
And where can we find some of your covers and stuff? You kind of slid
I
that
mean,
in there, but I'm
yeah,
like, wait, where you at with it?
it's on the YouTube. I got music out. I got music on Spotify and Apple Music and stuff like that. Everywhere you find your artist at. Yeah.
Bet. Definitely gonna check that out too. So more on, I guess, what you've been watching lately, or are you into anime or any of that kind of stuff at all? Or
I do. I'm really fascinated with anime. I'm really locked in on a couple of shows I'm watching, but I do. I'm putting a list together of shows I'm trying to watch for anime. And if y'all want to definitely make one for me and send it to me, I'm down. I want to put time in to be more involved in that because I just think it's amazing, and the culture around it is very strong and universal. Like people watch anime everywhere. Um, but I let me think. But yeah, I do like anime. What am I watching right now? I watched Ozark. I'm a fan of that show.
nice, yeah,
Um,
good show.
let me think. Other than that, I mean, I'm watching a couple of series here and there, but like not anything that's really. I've finished a lot of series, and once I finish it, it's like over. But I do have a list of films that I've watched and actors in it that I'm really like impressed with, like Tick Tick Boom. I wrote down that the other day. Andrew Garfield,
Oh, okay, yeah,
but we were nominated for an Oscar. He was amazing in that. Um, there was another film with Bradley Cooper. It's called. It just came out. Um, Something Alley. Can't remember the name of it, but it's a film that's out currently. He was amazing in it.
hmm
Um, but yeah, I saw Spider Man too.
Nightmare
Super
Alley.
huge fan of Spider Man. Huh?
Was it Nightmare Alley?
Yeah, yeah, it was. It was a long movie, but man, it was a really amazing film. Um, and I really love Spider Man, the last film, man, like the one that came out recently. I just think the fact they got William Defoe to come back to play
yeah,
Goblin
Yeah,
was
that was
just such
amazing.
a clutch. I mean, that movie, he made that movie, he grounded it, he made
hmm
it, he made it really what it was. Um, he brought a levity, he brought a sense of like urgency and levity to it that I feel like we really don't see a lot in superhero movies, which is why certain directors kind of discredit it and don't look at it as cinema. Um,
Hmm.
but I mean, the cast was incredible. We got everybody, everybody's favorite is in there. Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Jamie Foxx. Everybody's in it. So I really did love the performances in that. I like Doom. Thought that was a dope film.
yep,
Um, which is hard. Some of these big blockbuster films aren't just like good. Like the storytelling's kind of like whatever, and then all the production value. Like they never get nominated for best picture. They get nominated for like best costume. You know what I mean? Because
right.
Hmm.
they put all the effort in. But I've been really impressed with these past couple of films I've been watching. And I play Call of Duty. That's it. Besides that, I'm on there with my brother whenever I can because he's in Asia, so he's like a day ahead of me. So it's like 3 a.m. for me. It's like 7 p.m. for him or something like that. So I gotta
Yeah,
stay up and catch him. But yeah,
that's dope, man. Yeah. So you get a phone call to do either a superhero film or a voice act. Your dream role. What would you like to be in? Whether it be like a video game adaptation or another Spider-Man film, where would you like to be as far as continuing this like superhero supernatural route?
yeah. I'm really manifesting my spot into the MC universe. Like I want
Yeah.
to be there. Trying to figure out what works for me. I want in. You know what I'm saying? I think they gotta let me in, man. It's time.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, that's as an actor, we have those kind of bucket list things. We're like, man, we really want to be in that, or but yeah, that's something I definitely want to do. I don't know what character it would be. It's always crazy to me that a lot of fans of the films will like fan cast me in certain roles, and I'm just like, y'all keep doing that. They
Yeah.
keep doing that, man. Show them.
Yeah. Twitter is powerful, man.
It is.
I know at one point you were just the human heartthrob on Twitter, but it's nice to see you back in more roles and get to know you a little better and
Yeah.
uh, Shoot, well, when the Nets call you, pick it up, man.
So I got you. Yeah,
Yeah, that's our time though. I appreciate you stopping by and letting us pick your brain a little bit. It was great to get to know you a little bit more, and I can't wait to see what you got in store going forward.
likewise. Yeah, man. I'm super excited to continue and see. We'll see what Netflix does with Raising Dion, and they want to bring it back for a third season.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll be here.